Today I'd like to show you guys how to draw with Autodesk Inventor, but I have up here Auto Sketch first, just as a review of the drawings that you've done, and these are what I'm going to show you how to draw with Autodesk Inventor. But these should all be familiar. So we're going to take those drawings that you did and use another program to show you how we can do the same thing with another program. Okay, so what you guys will do is click on this orange eye over here. It says Autodesk Inventor 2017. Now, I already have it open, so I'm just going to click down here. But once I get to this point, what I'm going to start with is the Part button. Okay. Once I click on this, it's going to give me my drawing space. And this is that. Okay. Now, to begin drawing, I'm going to go over here to the little icon above Start 2D Sketch. Don't click on the words, because when you do that, it's going to end up giving you some other options to work with, and we don't want to worry about that so much. We just want to do the 2D sketch. So click on the icon, and then this is going to appear. And what these are the different planes that we have to work with. So if you've done some graphing, in your math class, okay, these planes are what you were talking about. So the XY plane, probably the one that you talked about the most, and that's going to be the one that we're going to work with too. So the XY plane is highlighted in white. I'm going to click on it. And that gives me my X and Y axis. And the starting point here would be 0, 0. That's where I'm going to want to start drawing from. So I'm going to go over here to the line tool, and just like we said before, you want to click on the picture and not the words. But my cursor turns into this like double plus sign. Okay, and when I get to that point, the 0, 0, notice how my point turns green. That's when I know I should click. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to start by just drawing a box. Okay, and this is going to be for the practice drawing that you did. Okay, so as I finish and I get back to my starting point here, notice I've got two lines that are purple, two lines that are green. Purple lines mean that they're locked in place. Green lines means that there's variation that we have to deal with. So to get rid of the variation, we need to add dimensions, just like you did with your other drawing. So what we'll do is click on the dimension tool. Okay, notice how it's highlighted in blue now. And I'm going to come over to one of my lines. So I'll start with this purple line here, and click, and just drag my extension and dimension lines off to the side. Now it gives me an edit dimension box. So I need to type in the height of this drawing. And if you guys remember, it should be 2 inches. So I can type in 2 and either tap enter or click that green check mark, and my drawing explodes off from my screen. Don't worry, that's okay. Come over here to this cube. Okay, and you're going to click on the front button. Now it pans back so you can see all of your drawing. And we're going to add another dimension. So I either need to do the top line or the bottom line. Doesn't matter which one. I just need to do one of them. And I'm going to change this dimension to 2.5 inches, so 2.5. And again, tap enter or click the green check mark. And I've got the front view of the practice block. Now, at this point, I can't do any more to this, so I need to finish the sketch by clicking on the green check mark. And then it zooms back into our 0, 0 point, and I want to pan back again, so I'm going to click on the corner here of the cube. And now my front view fills up the drawing space. Now to add the depth to this, instead of drawing out lines like you may have done for Auto Sketch, we're going to use an Extrude button, which is going to add the depth to it. The first time you use this, you may get this menu to appear. Okay, I like to use this, and in order to do that, I have to drop that down. Alright, so once I get here, the next thing that I like to do is choose direction 2. Okay, because it sends the drawing back behind what I drew. So that way if I need to make modifications, I have my good face to work with. Next, I need to change the distance it's going to extrude my piece, add this material to the thickness of the practice block. Okay, and that practice block happens to be a 1/2 inch. So I type that in 0.5 and I hit OK. Okay, so to place the hole, we want to avoid, okay, the hole tool, because I can use this, but I can place that hole any place on this drawing and not necessarily where I want it to. So what I want to do instead is create another 2D sketch. So I'm going to click on the 2D sketch button. I'm going to come over here and highlight the front view. Okay? And if it doesn't go right on the screen like I like, I click front, and now I have my whole space to work with. Right, now a lot of times we might think that, ooh, I'm putting in a hole, let's use the circle, but that's not the right tool for us to use. Instead, we're going to want to use point. Okay? This point, if you recall back to the drafting discussion that we had, okay, is just like our center point. Alright, so someplace in here, doesn't have to be any place very specific. I could even put it over here if I like. I just want to click and add the point. Alright, next part is adding dimensions. So I want a dimension from either the top or the bottom to my point. Okay, and my distance from either the top or the bottom should be 1 inch. So type in 1. That drops it to where it needs to be. And then I want a dimension from a side to my point. Click, and that one should be 1 1/4 or 1.25. And now my point is locked in. Alright, so I'm going to finish the sketch again. Once I have that finished, now I can go to hole. Okay, what that'll do is it's going to place the hole right on the center of my point. This menu is going to appear, and what I need to do is change the diameter of my hole to the size that the hole is. If you take a look at your plan, it says that it's 1 inch. So I type in 1 and I hit OK. And now if I take a look, I have front view or the isometric view that looks very similar to what you have drawn using AutoSketch. Okay, so at this point I would like to save this. So either go to the save button over here, or you can go to the orange file button and then save. Okay, and from here you might just end up putting this under your name. I have a few of these, so they're there's a few folders. And I would change this to practice, so that way I know what piece it is when I come back for it, and hit save. Okay, but now we don't have any of the dimensions that we can see with this, right? So I'm going to show you that part next. With this still open, I'm going to go to the new button up here. See this like piece of paper in the upper left hand corner with the corner folded over? I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to go to the standard IDW. Okay, if you take a look at this picture, it kind of looks like a orthographic projection. Okay, so click that and hit create. Maybe. There we go. What I'm going to get is like a drafting block. Okay. And as long as I have that first drawing open, if I click base right here, okay, it's going to bring my drawing in. Alright. Now notice that it's really tiny. If I change the scale down here, Okay, it's going to make it a little bit bigger, so something that's actually going to fit the page and I can see the dimensions for them. And one further thing, if you notice, if I drag my cursor off from my front view, and if I click, it's going to place the other views that I'm going to need. Alright, so once I have those, I'm going to hit OK. And now my drawings are here. Hidden lines included where they need to be. And if these look like they're too crowded together, alright, so say I've got these on top of each other, really hard to see, right? If you take your mouse cursor there and move it over until you see the little red dots surrounding the piece, you can click and drag. We mentioned conventions in our drafting lecture, if you will. Okay, if I click this and try to drag this up, notice how it isn't moving up for my right view. Okay, it needs to keep the right view in line with my front view, so it's not going to allow me to move it up. I can move it all I want, left and right, okay, but it's not going to allow me to move it up above the drawing. Same with the top view. See, I can drag it either side, it's not going to go. I can drag it as far as I want up and down. Okay. Try not to get them too far apart because it's going to make it harder to see the dimensions. Okay, this one I can drag off to the side, which is fine. Alright, so once I have this in here, and I kind of get them where I want, I'm going to use the Annotate button. Okay, so right now it's on Place Views. The next tab beside it is Annotate. And I can use the dimensions to put in our obviously the dimensions. There's also going to be some center lines I want to put in. So this first one is a center line bisector. Okay, click on that, and then you're going to go to your two hidden lines. See how the hidden line is highlighted now in red? Once it is, I'm going to click, go over to the other side and click. And that puts my center line, okay, right where it belongs. Do the same thing on the right side. Okay, that works for our secondary center lines. This button that's kitty corner from the one we just used, okay, is center mark, and this is going to put it in our true view, so like your circle as a circle. All I need to do is bring my cursor over to the circle until it turns red, and then click and it puts in the center marks there. Okay, now I can do everything I need to with dimensioning. Okay, so I go over to the dimension tool. What's kind of nice about this one compared to the auto sketch program is I don't need to keep changing back and forth between vertical and horizontal or onto the diameter either. So with that selected, okay, I can go to the line and see that it's highlighted. I can click and it's going to tell me the dimension for that whole thing. Okay. Once this menu pops up, just hit OK. And if you notice, those dimensions look really, really tiny. If we zoom in, we can see them, but right now they look kind of small. That's all right. After we get this finished, I'll show you, I have a video up showing you how to change the dimensions and make them bigger, and also fractions, so that way it's a little bit easier when you get out and measure in a shop. Okay, so I have my 2.5 inch dimension. To get the dimension to the center of the circle here, I'm going to click on this left line. I come over to the top of my center mark, click, and I can drag this up, and then click. To do my dimension from the bottom, I can do the same thing. And finally, the last dimension I need is the diameter. And I'm going to try not to drag it through all that stuff or through this. So I'll click down here. And then I'll click. And OK. So there I have all the dimensions in that I need for my drawing. I have the diameter of the circle. Everything I would need to make this piece. Right? Thank you guys very much.